Okay, we're here for another spray sealing video. I will be spraying with the Krylon UV-Resistant Clear. It's a glossy coating, acrylic coating. And we're starting off with two holographic scenes. You can see how much darker the black, in this case, Brilliance quick drying pigment ink gets. It does dry to a kind of a matte finish when dry. And as you can hear, we are out here with our bird friend. It's just one bird going, I don't know, nuts. Sings all day and all night. 24 hours a day, non-stop as far as I can tell. I don't know when he eats. Okay, so looks pretty good. Seals up. I wasn't quite sure about spraying foils and metallics, but it really helps them in terms of the overall appearance. Here's one done on a dark blue matte, not even cardstock, just paper right here. Now that did really darken the paper. We'll see if that one kind of lightens up after it dries. But when you spray these pigment inks, it gives it a look that's a lot more akin to kind of a freshly stamped piece while it's still wet. This one's done in that kind of ink lifting reverse type of impression technique right here. Okay, always, if you're spraying, you always want to spray outdoors or in a super well ventilated area. Okay, here's a photo stamping. I don't think I really need to spray this one because that looks pretty good. Let's do it anyways just to see. The colors were already very vivid and deep, so yeah, nothing really required. And I guess the sealant can protect the media a little bit from lifting when handling, but it was pretty well set, so didn't really need to do very much with that. Okay, now I have a ton of these pieces, so I'll try to move along. This one's very difficult to see, but you can kind of see the different look at different angles, and that's one of the things that's really fun about using metallic media coupled with metallic surfaces. So that one's on a silver star dream paper. Okay, let's take a look at that silver one. It's almost like invisible ink. When you have it at certain angles, something that was darker becomes lighter because it's so reflective from that metallic media. Always interesting. Okay, be careful when you're spraying your pieces that you don't stack them, because what'll happen is, you know, they'll stick to each other, so kind of a spraying on a non-windy day is a good idea. But I got one of these boxes at Costco, and they always ask you if you want a box, and it works perfectly to block off the wind from both sides. But I do have a bunch of pieces now lying down on the in other boxes. I'm going to make sure they don't kind of flip. A lot of times in the wind, as they're drying, they'll flip like this and they'll stick to it. Oh, this is double-sided right here. In terms of my card, this is on black matte paper with white and gold Brilliance inks for the impressions. Now I'm really hurrying along here because I have so many of these to do. I really kind of spray sealing's not exactly my idea of fun, but it really does make the pieces look a lot better. This one's a bronze Star Dream using gold, I think, and white on top of the bronze here. And I've used some crystals for some of the stars, as well as the Dr. Martin's bleed-proof white for the splatter-painted stars. Alright, some of my favorite techniques is gold foil, super reflective gold foil. But you do have to spray these. I wasn't quite sure about the spraying on these ones before because I wasn't quite sure what the acrylic sealants would do in terms of affecting the oil-based pigment inks, but they look just fine. It's a standard spray painting types of, process technique right here. You don't want to spray too close, otherwise you're going to get a big blob of it and, they'll drip. So, just kind of an even coating like that. Alright, this one's a blue foil, and it's getting really windy. It never fails. Anytime I start spray sealing, the wind kicks up, threefold while I'm out here. But blue foil right here, very reflective, very dynamic, and the pigment inks look very flat on there after they dried, so. One thing you have to be a little bit careful is in your subtle areas, especially using white, don't spray it too thick, otherwise it'll make those inks very translucent to transparent, and you'll lose kind of the subtlety of it. Now, you can spray this, and if you lose too much of the white, you just go back in and add another coating over the top of it in whatever color you lost. So in this case it would be white, so you can go back in and add a little bit more of that subtle variation back into it. And then what you do is you just, you don't spray that one, so it'll be fine though, because what you really want this initial spraying for is to really kind of enhance the black. But you can put the white over the top of it, and it will stick. Okay, and I'm talking about white brilliance ink specifically. It's a fast-drying style of pigment ink. It's almost like a solvent pigment ink. Okay, this one's the holographic foil type of surface, and I really like the look of these pieces right here, but they almost dry too flat looking, so spray sealing is a really good idea. Some inks or some surfaces hold the ink a little bit better. Like this is kind of a cheaper holographic foil, so it's not quite as mirrored and it's not quite as sealed, so the inks stick to it a little bit better. But you just have to play around with it. Again, I don't have any affiliation with Brilliance. It just happens to be the only ink that I know of that'll work with this type of paper. It'll apply and give you as much time as you want to move it around and whatnot, but it will dry overnight, or you can spray seal. I mean, you can heat set, and it'll dry really fast. And if you don't know, rubber stamping heat setting is with typically with a heat gun. Okay, I've got a ton of scenes here. I haven't been sending some of these out. Some of these I've had kind of set aside to mail out with orders and stuff, but I look at them and I think, it's looking a little bit too flat. That doesn't look good, so I held it back until I could spray seal it. You can see I've been pretty busy working on a lot of different scenes, a lot of different techniques, a lot of different media surface combinations, kind of experimenting, and I'm like any other stamper, I'm like any of you. We get caught up, working on our projects, and I don't know. This is one of those steps right here that I just don't get around to doing all the time. This is 3 pieces of stamp board. This is a photo stamping piece. this, I'm spray sealing kind of clay tiles right here. And this one I'm spray sealing Costco photo of clouds that I've stamped over and colored with alcohol pens. So all kinds of different techniques, and you know, going for different types of looks, different types of surfaces. And for me, it's really exciting to see the different types of results that all of these different combinations can yield. I love working with, here's a batch of a lot of blue lapis lazuli Stardrame papers right here. This one's an 80-pound text, which I never thought I would prefer over kind of thicker papers. To me, thicker the cardstock, the better. You know, I'd rather work with a 12-point than a 10-point cardstock, but with the lapis lazuli, these kind of thinner papers, I really like them. I've gotten really used to them very quickly, and I don't know, I find that they stay nice and flat, maybe because they are thinner, but I don't know. Really fun to use. Now the lapis lazulis, I don't feel I really need to spray these very much. The look of it kind of lends itself to the look that of the dry pigment ink, okay? And I don't know, the pigment inks just look different on a foil cardstock. These are considered metallics because they're iridescent, you know, but the real kind of metallic foil style one, the very mirrored ones, I think those ones really benefit from getting a good spraying, you know, but these look good as is. But I figure while I'm at it, why not? Okay, this one's a very cheap kind of Michael's gold foil, green foil right here. This one's really fun to play around with. Already formatted that into a card. I usually recommend spray sealing before you format into a card, but when I'm working on those things, I tend to want to just kind of finish them off. So these ones are using the 3mm paint pens of late. We'll see what that one looks like. Anytime you spray seal, a lot of the colors get more deep and saturated, intense, and also darker, because you kind of make the media a little to a lot more transparent. Okay. So I'd recommend it for everyone, you know. I mean, if you're working with something with a lot of subtlety and chalks and a lot of white, you know, maybe you're a lot more careful with it and you use it, I don't know, maybe a lot more selectively, but I don't know, with most things, you know, your end results really benefit from kind of deeper saturated colors, okay? These are another couple pieces of stamp board, or it's now called clayboard art tiles by Ampersand Art. Look at that three-dimensional aspect to it. And these tiles really look great when spray sealed. They kind of feel like a glazed, fired tile, which can be very dynamic to receive a finished piece like that. Okay, let's get into a couple really large pieces. This one right here was a Father's Day scene from this last Father's Day. And let's see if you can see the difference between one part of it that I'll spray. I'll spray some of this left hand. That bird's going nuts. And the right side, I'll start off with the left right here. You know, can you see that? I don't know if the camera's picking it up. The lighting is not really great out here today. I'm getting a lot of glare, but I can see it. It's really turning from kind of a dull finish to a much more saturated, deep one. and again, much more akin to how this looked when it was the inks were freshly applied and wet. And I'm spraying about, I don't know, maybe about 10 inches away from the surface so that you don't get these big concentrations of media and where it might be dripping. I really hit the corners of my piece because I tend to get darker around the edges of my finished pieces when doing these scenes. So that's where I can really benefit from the depth of all the inks that have been applied in those darker areas. So if it's darker, I've used not only darker inks, but I've used more of the lighter color inks. But look at that real vivid blue. It looks like it's almost glowing now that I've sprayed it, and that's what it looked like when it was freshly stamped out. Okay, I need to be careful with this one. This one I've sprayed quite a bit, just because it's larger in general. Alright, here's this waterfall one. I saw someone do a really fantastic Prismacolor and Gamasol version of this right here. Let's go left-hand side first. Okay, I can see it more in the darker areas. Okay. A lot of Dr. Martin's bleed-proof white used in the base of the waterfalls to create that kind of splashing look. Alright, I'm going to pause the video because I don't want these two pieces to fly around or to land on, face down and it gets all this dust and lint on it. Alright, we got a really beautiful gold foil piece here. Really stamped simply with just some white brilliance ink on that one. This one is like a bronze, I think. Copper? I can't remember. Maybe bronze, starred ring or something like that. Now I'm going to stay away from this area in here because I want that as light as it is, and if I spray it, we'll lose some of those ray lightness. I wouldn't say intensity, I would say, kind of the lightness of it. Okay, we have a blue foil piece. I wasn't quite sure what I thought about that blue foil, but as soon as you get kind of everything stamped out on there and kind of finished off, I think that blue foil looks pretty good. This is another two pieces of the clayboard art tiles, kind of done in a spotlighting look. Just a couple light sprays on these ones. I thought these ones were looking pretty good. I didn't have a lot of big solid areas of black on here, so it didn't look so flat. It was more just kind of stamped impressions on there. So I should have added in a little bit more shading underneath this one, but this is like a quick card type of format. So I just utilized kind of the shading that was inherent in the imagery. So did I already spray this one? I'm not sure. Another piece with 4 pieces of what they call spotlighting, getting those raised tiles like that. People might remember this piece right here. That was angeled by Marks of Distinction. I used a lot of crystals on this piece. I have a set of multi-sized crystals, so I had that kind of explosion. Let's see if we can see that lighting on it. Yeah, real reflective lighting out here, being that it's outside. When you're working with just kind of white and black too, and that brilliance right there, I don't know, you really don't have to worry about fading too much. I don't know if brilliance is a fade-proof ink or not, but if it isn't, it's pretty close. And if you're not working with like a lot of different color, if you have something on display and it does fade a little bit, it's not really too big of a deal. But sometimes when you use like a lot of dye-based inks or something like that, unless it's something like Memento, which is supposed to be a fade-proof dye-based ink. I've never tested that, but you know, you can get a lot of fading with your originals. If you've ever given a card to someone and they've, you know, they've had it out on a refrigerator or something like that for a long time, you know, after you look at it after a year or two, sometimes it's really quite faded. But with some media, you don't need to worry about that so much. Okay, now I have some here that I didn't spray, and I've kind of had some cards in it sitting around, so it's kind of scratched into the surface. I might redo some of these a little bit with some additional ink applications, just to kind of fill out those scratches again. Here's a couple cave pieces right here, kind of my triptych on that. Triptych is, I don't know, it's not really a triptych, it's not really designed to be displayed together, but kind of my series, I guess you can say. Alright, let's see, am I focused in here? Alright, this one should really benefit, regain a lot of that darkness and intensity. Dye-based inks can really, they fade visually, okay? But the intensity is still there as long as you spray seal it. So you see my little crystals right here. This is my kind of jeweled cave type of look. I have all these little jewels. I thought, I can take advantage of it. Now see where that kind of alcohol ink and dye-based inks really don't blend in really well, but when you spray seal it, it unifies the surface in terms of this glossy texture, and those alcohol inks should blend right in. Okay, so here's my little piece right here. This one's a Shelob piece. I have like an actual like little plastic spider that I like to put on that one. Pretend it's like Samwise Gamgee, you know, out of the Lord of the Rings. Alright, here's my Gollum piece right here, a la Lord of the Rings. Okay, spray sealing quite a bit more with these dye-based ink pieces. Here's this little Precious right here, this little ring down here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I have a lot of, you can tell I can tell. I went pretty crazy with a lot of, you know, different types of surfaces right here over the last 6 months or so with, oh my gosh, it's getting really busy, windy out here. Okay, let's see. A lot of metallic experiments. Like I said, these ones are the starter in lapis lazuli. There's not a big change here. I don't know, I guess it does give it a slight bit of extra sheen to it, maybe. It doesn't even really change the spirit of the piece too much, surprisingly. So you'd think it would kind of make it look a little bit glossier, but not so much. So just, you know, you get the benefit of the sealing, I guess. Okay, now see this one right here? There's like a piece of paper that just scratched right across that. I'm going to add in some extra tones, and I'll just take that right out of there. A couple more lapis lazulis right here. Oh, look at this one right here. This one really kind of dulled out. Okay, it didn't fade out because it's still there. Let's put this one right in the middle here. You should really be able to see a big difference in this one. See that right there? How much darker it is than over there. I just updated the website and added all my latest videos in there from the last several months, and this one was one that was a quick scene, so we're talking about, you know, 20-30 minutes right there, but look at that darkness kind of coming in back into to play right there. or the richness, the intensity of the colors. Alright. See here. So a lot of times, like I said, if you are doing, it's taking a little bit longer to dry here. If you feel that your pieces have kind of dulled out, just spray seal them. Everyone should have spray seals anyways. It's not just for scenes, it's for all of your cards. And if you give them just a quick spray, you'll see so much more intensity come out from your whatever it is, Copic markers, impressions, your dye-based inks, your, I don't know, maybe a little bit of like colored pencils or something like that, watercolors, everything. Alright, this one's just silver. No, this is a white iridescent paper stamped with, I think, black on top of it. It's either that or silver. So, looking for kind of elegant combinations, you know, not so much contrast, but kind of more of like a patina. Now these ones are light to begin with. It's an inherently light, low contrast kind of combination of media there, so I'm not expecting anything big, but we're just going for the protection there. Windy. Here's a piece right here using a castle from a different company for my private collection of stamps. Not all of them. I do use other company stamps. Gosh, it is really getting, this wind is getting insane. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple more here. One thing about this wind is that it is drying these pieces really quite fast. Like just sitting here, that's good. I can put this one over here on the side and just kind of allow the other pieces to you know, apply the spray to these other pieces while that dries completely. It just, I don't know, in a windy day like today, it can just take I don't know, 1 minute to dry probably. A lot of alcohol inks on this one. A lot of separation of media from a visual standpoint. You spray it off like that, and you get that nice consolidation of textures where you want them to consolidate. Specifically, the dye-based inks and the alcohol inks on this one. Alright, I'm hurrying too much. I got a drip on this one. I got a really huge drip. Just kind of what I said not to do. So, I don't know, like I said, I'm kind of hurrying right here. Just because it is getting so windy. I love just about everything in nature. I'm not a big fan of the wind, though, when I go hiking or anything like that. Certainly if I want to fly a kite or something like that, but I'm like never doing that, so, or almost never doing that. Maybe I should. Okay, let's see. This one right here, another gold foil. This gold foil right here, if you buy it on Amazon, it's very inexpensive. Some of it's very expensive. This one's like 50 sheets for, I forget what it was. It was like $12. I don't know. It was something like that. It was really, really reasonable. It's so much fun to work on too. Okay. I got the gold foil just mostly for matting my other cards, but with the brilliance inks being that they can dry on there, you know, it really opened up some really fantastic opportunities from a card or a stamping standpoint. It's you know, we're often going for, you know, very, you know, we want to create dynamic looking pieces for, you know, the recipients of our cards. So, and it just stands to reason that if you start off with an inherently dynamic surface, you know, more than like a white piece of paper, you know, you could potentially get to a very dynamic result that much faster. Okay, let's see here. This one's like that reverse type of impression type of thing. Stamping into wet pigment ink with a dry stamp and pulling it off and getting that reverse impression. Star Green lapis lazuli. You don't see too much of that lapis lazuli because I covered it up with a lot of that black pigment ink. This one right here I see is kind of like a soot card style of appearance, at least. Not technique, but the look of it reminds me of a soot card. Soot cards where you kind of get the residue from you know, like a burning oil lamp or candle or something like that, and you stamp into it and remove the soot for a reverse impression. It's really a pretty cool technique for a kind of an antiqued, reminds me of an antiqued type of look. All right, this is spray water bleaching into wet ink for getting that different type of texture. If someone looked at these right here, they would probably think that they're oxides, but it's just plain dye-based ink on glossy paper where I've sprayed it with just water. And you can see that texture a lot more now that I've sprayed it, because the contrast between the bleached out area and the ink around it is a little bit more, it's a wider contrast. Okay, my gosh. I got scenes blowing underneath the box all over the place here. Okay, some of these scenes look, you know, kind of downright ugly when they've dried, because they've dried so dull. This is the different type of holographic paper. It's the higher quality one that's discontinued as far as I know, because I think it was Chrome Co that used to make it, but spray seal like this, and let's see if we can get those black, deep black contrasts back. Look at that holographic nature of it. It's so dynamic, especially out here in this bright sun. Lapis lazuli. I really got fascinated with the lapis lazuli because I spent all my life, or most of my life, stamping on white cardstock as opposed to stamping it on a darker cardstock, and kind of revealing lights with the use of light. I've usually created light through the use of darkness, okay, darker media, retaining the white of the paper. But on this one, you're starting off with the dark paper, so you're revealing light with light media. So, you know, instead of working contrast, you're working actual light media, white, you know. So that, for me, was really fun to do. Okay, this is silver foils right here. Boy. No, this one's, okay, these two are the holographic papers. And one of them is just a straight silver foil. Now, what I was telling people originally was, you know, if you need to spray seal these, I was just telling them to put it in a, you know, like a clear envelope, you know, and having people display their cards with a clear, but the spray sealing just works fine. So, I mean, if you spray seal with the spray seal and you put the card in a clear envelope, you know, and then you mail that, you know, in a regular envelope, that may be even better, but I don't know, this works good. Okay, I think that is it. I need to do a little repair work on the rest of this stuff. Oh, let's do one more. This one is a Moonlighted Sculpture. This is stamped on silver paper. I really wanted to go for kind of this nice looking kind of patina on this one. Like, I wanted to go for a kind of an antiqued look. And I think that this silver star grain paper really provides that. Let me see if I focus right there. Okay. You know, something like this, I don't want a ton of contrast because I do want it to have like an antique look to it. So you want to have like deep, you know, values of darkness. You want it to be kind of a little bit more kind of faded out and aged looking, but yeah, that spray sealing looks pretty good on there. So, and I do have some of those little crystals in here to give it that extra little touch. So, kind of fun stuff. Okay, so anyways, I have a lot of cards here. I might format a lot more of these cards, scenes into card formats. They look so much better when I do that. Take the time to do that, but yeah, maybe I will. We'll see what that looks like. Okay, so anyways, spray sealing. In a pinch, you can use something like a hairspray or whatnot, but you can also just look up Krylon. You can go to the hardware store and buy some Krylon Crystal Clear or something like that. It doesn't have to be the art UV variety. There's also some very inexpensive ones like called Triple Thick. I don't know, it was like, I think it was less than $3 a can on Amazon, but I don't know, you can look around. Even polyurethanes work pretty good. Okay, thanks for watching.